Across the country on 94 or 104, wherever you are, this is 4FM.
It's going to be something very different to anything I've ever done. And while we're dipping in and out of topical issues and we're getting behind some of the big stories of the day, and we're talking to people who've written about some of those stories, and we're talking to people who are making those stories, we are also concentrating on a lighter sort of recession talk-free zone as well. We're trying to give people a little bit of hope and a little bit of a lift here. You know, I listened to some of the news programmes over the last few weeks, and I just felt so down coming away from them. So we're trying to, as it were, galvanise ourselves a little against that, and we're trying to get people to look beyond that. And it's reflected in the music, and I think it's reflected in the presentation. And the talent we've got on this station just speaks for itself.
Basically, it's music-driven with some entertainment features, competitions, quizzes and special guests. It's a business I always wanted to work in. I started in RTE. More recently, though, I've been working in Dublin City in 98 FM, and it was a good learning curve because everything is done very commercially there. But I owe an awful lot to RTE because I did so many different things out there: newscaster, producer, disc jockey, presenter, television presenter, and it was all grist to the mill. And it all came back to me actually with the launch of this station, because there were people texting in and emailing in who hadn't heard me because I've been in Dublin only for so long. So it was nice to be back with a national reach to people. You know?
Well, I like the whole idea of 4FM because it's a cheerful radio station. I think the sound is absolutely wonderful. The professionalism of the people who put the equipment together for the station is magnificent. It's the best equipment I've worked with in radio. Now, I have a background in kind of news radio in the past. I did about 5 or 6 years of that. I also was a newspaper editor for 12 years for my sins. Quite hard going, I can tell you. Wouldn't want to go back there, and I'm quite happy in radio.
Hello there, it's Brian McCall from 4FM. Hope you'll join me. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 2 o'clock till 5 o'clock. We've got the Oldies Hour, we've got the Big Four quiz, chance to win stuff. 2 to 5, weekdays on 4FM.
I've been in radio for a long time. I started in a pirate station in Waterford in the 80s, and I have moved to South East Radio in Wexford. I was in INN, the national news provider, for about 10 years. I spent a year in Leinster House, and now I'm at 4FM. There's 9 people in the newsroom. The news bulletins themselves are quite short. They run from 6 a.m. to midnight. We also have headlines on the half hour during Breakfast on 4 and McGurk on 4.
I think drive time across the stations has become terribly solemn and serious and hard work. And by 7 o'clock people are pretty down on their boots, so we want to change that. We'll do travel, gardening, fashion, motor cars, celebrity, lifestyles, wine, holidays, and we'll do the news and the current affairs, and we'll do the recession and the banks and all of that stuff. And we play some really good music. So for those 2 hours, you'll get everything you need, and I think at 7 o'clock you'll feel slightly brighter than you might feel at the moment.
My musical taste run, I have a secret passion for Italian opera. But I would most commonly listen, I suppose, to Motown, also acts like the Stones and so on. I like R&B, I like blues, some American country music too. One of the reasons that I would be comfortable here is that if you like, the musical taste and selection of the station is very much what I would have at home, what I would listen to at home.
It's a look back at Irish music over the last 40 years or so, kind of some obscure songs by relatively obscure acts, but would have had a following back in the day. The day can cover a number of decades, along with some more contemporary figures. So it'll be kind of the Blades, it'll be Thin Lizzy, it'll be Van Morrison, and then there's some really good new acts around as well. So I hope that kind of people who would have bought those records back then, and those who are interested in those music, or that music rather, will check it out. It's on Tuesdays between 9 and 10 o'clock.
We're in a difficult economic time. Everyone's talking about it, everyone's concentrating on it. One of the ways I think we get out of it is start feeling good about ourselves, despite all the understandable anger about what's gone on in the last while. But maybe a bit of music and a bit of lift from that, a sense of kind of, Jesus, life is good, all things considered, even with the difficulties we have. And maybe that is something to celebrate here. And I think a new station where people are investing money, creating jobs, kind of going out and trying something, doing something different is really welcome. And I'm happy as Minister of Communications to come along and formally launch it.
4FM is a hybrid of music and talk. where you've got stations, very successful stations, doing all music or all talk. There isn't a serious radio station for adults in this marketplace that combines both, and that's actually where we sit. We sit somewhere in between Radio 1, the seriousness of Radio 1, and News Talk, and Today FM and 2FM, and that's our position. In this radio station, the difference is we've got about 10,000 tracks. So the width of this radio station is huge. It goes over 5 decades across 9 different genres. So basically the listener is going to get surprised about what's coming next. It is just such a wide format where every other station is very narrow and niche. We have seriously the widest selection of music on the radio. It is a poor economic climate and we're just going to have to work harder. It's a long-term project. It's not a project for tomorrow. It's a long-term project for us.